If you're watching this on YouTube, you may recognize his face as Hamilton Porter from The Sandlot, but Patrick Renna, you have been in so many different movies, commercials, TV shows. It's just been so impressive, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
Let's do it. Honored to be here. I feel like we need the MLB crowd noise. Pump it in.
Post-production, we can do that. I'm the one editing it, so you got it.
I love it.
Everybody who's listening to this, you're going to learn a lot today about Patrick, what he's been able to accomplish in 30 years in the entertainment industry. And there's a reason why you're still here today, and that's what we're going to talk about.
It's like The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. At the end of it, though, you may not like me. Isn't that what he said?
Hey, well, you know what? Everybody's going to have to listen the entire time to find out.
I liked Michael Jordan more after I watched The Last Dance. Does that make me a bad person? I thought his honesty was so great. I loved it.
Just to kick things off, man. So everything pretty much started for you in the entertainment industry back in 1992.
Yeah.
I mean, you were what, only 13 years old? Did you know that you wanted to get into this business?
Yeah, I'm originally from Boston, and I moved out here with my mother in late 91, something like that. And I kind of went back and forth to a school for a little bit, and then finally settled in around April 92. But growing up in Boston, I did school plays and things like that. And it was there that I knew I wanted to be an actor. So my mom had an opportunity to come out to LA, and she took it because she knew this is something I wanted to pursue. And so we were just out here together, and it kind of just happened like wildfire. It was crazy. It just basically the first audition I had was Sandlot. And, I got swept off to Utah to film the, unforgettable movie that is now The Sandlot.
Which was in 1993.
Yeah, it came out in 93. I filmed it in 92.
Which was the same year as Salute Your Shorts, correct? The TV show that you made a quick appearance in, or
so I was 2 for 2 on my auditions. It was pretty crazy. But Salute Your Shorts, to be fair, was right before Sandlot. That was my first audition and the first job I had ever gone on. And then right after that, I auditioned for Sandlot. So I came out here and I met with agents, and they sort of warned me that this business can take a while, and don't be surprised if you don't work for a bit. And I just hit the jackpot immediately. So I didn't experience that. After a few big movies, I then experienced what the difficulties of Hollywood, for sure. It has not been that romantic as it was in the beginning, but my start was, I didn't know anything better. So it was a pretty great start because of that. I never had any of the trials or tribulations that go with it,
Talk about an introduction to the entertainment industry. You start off 2 for 2. You move from Boston, Massachusetts out to Los Angeles.
Right.
And like you said, you hit the jackpot.
Crazy.
And then you're in The Sandlot. And would you say when your life changed?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's funny because I think that I filmed Son-in-Law, which was right after Sandlot, in 1992 as well. So I went and filmed Sandlot over the summer, and I believe I then came right off of Sandlot and went and auditioned for Pauly Shore, and then went and filmed Son-in-Law, because both Sandlot and Son-in-Law came out in 1993. So from Salute Your Shorts to Sandlot to Son-in-Law, I don't think I think I might have been 3 for 3 because
wow.
So I know it was crazy, but I don't think I knew what was happening until the movie started coming out, is my point, because I was just on movie sets. And like I said, I was warned that this process could be grueling and could be difficult, but lucky for me, I didn't experience any of it. And I just had the time of my life filming these movies. Then the movies came out, and I do think, I think that is where I first started to experience everything. But then when the movies came out, and then there was a little bit of pressure, and then I had to live up to, even at 13, expectations of those 2 great starts. And so I think that's where things started to get not bad by any means. I think I welcomed it, but then things got a little less romantic.
So for you at that time, did staying in the same school bring some sort of normalcy to you? Because you only changed schools, once when you were younger? So did that kind of help with those pressures?
I think so. I was also in a fairly small private school. It was K through 12, and there were 250 students. So it was not, I did not have, a lot of like senior classes are 250 or 1,000 or whatever. So I was in a fairly smaller school. And I think absolutely that helped because I knew already had all my friends before even filming. One of my oldest friends in Hollywood, his name's Brahman. I met him. We used to have these little cleaning stations in our school. So, we'd sweep the locker room floor. Everyone did it for like 15 minutes, which I always thought was clever. It kind of gave you an ownership of the school. So you took care of it. And I remember meeting him in there and we were sweeping the floor together. And, he had just done a Coke commercial. And then we started talking about the Lakers and, that's where he converted this Bostonian over to Lake Show. He did it well.
And how was that growing up out in Los Angeles? And it sounds like that school setting was pretty beneficial for you. But in terms of family life, who was that instrumental character, that role model in your life that allowed you to kind of mold your character into the person who you became today?
I think obviously first and foremost was my mom. Yeah. She's been through all of it with me and sort of guided me. She always made a good analogy, and I don't know where she got it from. I think she had heard someone say it, but parenting is like being a bird, and you got to swoop in when you're needed, but then fly away when you're not. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing it. But whoever wrote it probably wrote it a little more eloquently. But generally that idea I think is great. And she did a good job of that. She sort of just soared above me and let me do my thing. And she would swoop in and, smack me around a little bit if I got too crazy, but she definitely let me experience the world. And because I had that strong base of friends that carried through into my teens, I had a really good group of guys and girls that I hung out with. So I didn't get into too much trouble, I got into a little bit, but nothing too bad,
Every single interview that I've watched with you in it, the times that I've seen you at Major League Ballpark, and people's eyes are just lighting up. Like you just create this automatic smile. It's like they're looking at a brick of gold. The way that you're able to handle all those interactions is just extremely impressive. And me, like looking at it from the outside, I'm like, wow, how does this guy do this? He's been doing it for 30 years now. Because again, The Sandlot came out in 1993, but
Yeah.
It does sound like that your mom put a really good head on your shoulders. And like you said, if you kind of got out of the boundary, she'd smack you around a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think it's that. I think I grew up in Boston, and I think Boston probably has a lot to do with it. There's an East Coast mentality that I think sometimes gets a bad rap. So I think just having that base of honesty from the East Coast really helped me. And my dad and my dad's side of the family as well, they're Italians from the North End in Boston, and it's a very big family, and it's about friendship. And so between my mother and father, and then the friends that I made in LA, I think those three things, my mom, my dad, and my friends, kept my head on straight.
That's so cool to hear that.
As straight as it is. I mean, I don't want to go, it's not that straight. I can get I'm a little crazy sometimes, but
yeah. But hey, man, like, yeah, yeah, you can say that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, when I saw that, I just really appreciated you and the type of person that you are and the character. I think it says a lot about you.
Thanks, man.
Because there are people, whether they're athletes, celebrities, or even somebody who starts their own TikTok page and become famous overnight, and then they lose touch of everything. And that hasn't been the case with you.
Well, I think, too, the thing you have to remember is I think it's a couple things. I grew up, I'm not a millennial, but I'm not Gen X. So I'm right in the middle. And I've researched this a lot, but we're called Zennials. So it's you had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. So I grew up in a time that we didn't have all of this media madness. And, if you wanted to watch the news, you watched the local news and you turned on your TV and you hit it on the side because it wasn't working. And, you called your friend on the rotary phone. And so all this technology and all this social media wasn't right there at my fingertips. So I think that helped too. I feel for people now because you're instantly famous and one wrong move and you're done. And I didn't grow up like that. I had a lot of wrong moves, and they weren't, they weren't plastered all over the place. And it wasn't just, one slip up and you're done. And I really don't like that about the world today. I think we're human and we need to remember that and have more compassion. And, so I grew up in a luckier time, I think. And also, man, the only reason I'm able to do what I do is because of the person that comes up to you and says that they're a fan. So to do anything else but be appreciative is you're just shooting yourself in the foot, because I'm continuing to do it. Now, sure, if I was a firefighter like Mike Vitar is, and everyone always goes, where's Benny? Where's Benny? And he's a firefighter. He's a father. That's all he does. I get that. Like, if you're not in this business, then sure, then hide away and, fade off into the sunset. But if you're continuing to do it like I am, you'd be a fool to, you're biting the hand that feeds you.
Mm-hmm.
So
well said. And there was something that you actually brought up in an interview recently. It was right after you shot Fear Inc. And it was that you saw something that Bryan Cranston had said, the star of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Could you just share that with us? And also, too, would anything have changed for you during your career had maybe that you heard that a little bit sooner?
Had I applied that more, I think if I could apply it even more now, things would change. But
it is extremely important because, again, when I heard it, I was like, you know what? People need to hear stuff like this because, again, you're going to hear so many no's more often than you're going to hear yes. So people need to hear this type of advice, which you're going to.
Yeah, they really do. I'm paraphrasing, and he said it really well, but essentially he said, as an actor, he's talking about auditioning and the audition process, which is a rough one. But he said, as long as you as an actor put everything that you have into the character, and you go and you create a character and you make it your own, and you succeed at doing that, and you've at least satisfied your own creative abilities, and you know that you did the best that you can do, you take it into that room, you do that performance, and then the second that door closes, you leave that performance there, and you don't think about it again, you don't talk about it again, you don't give it another thought, because the second you leave that door, it's out of your hands. And that really is true. And he goes on to say, there's a million reasons you might not get that job. And one of those reasons may not even be close to your performance wasn't good. Maybe your performance wasn't good, but maybe they just needed someone else, and they have in their mind. A funny story from Sandlot is, and great casting directors will guide the directors and the producers on this, but Sherry Rhodes was an amazing casting director, and she casted The Sandlot. And the director had originally written the movie for 8 and 9-year-olds. And they had actually cast a few kids, or at least, put them on a veil or whatever you call it. But they had a few kids. And Sherry Rhodes told the director before the whole process started, she said, whatever you wrote on the page, let it go. And you experience these actors for who they are and what they are, because that is more important than necessarily what you have in your mind. Because what if someone comes in and gives the performance of a lifetime and you go, no, I was thinking of, this guy that looked like Patrick Renna, but what if Matthew Stucko comes in and crushes it? So she kind of opened his mind before the process, and then through the audition process, he realized, wow, these 8 and 9-year-olds, it's not right. They're too young to be spitting all this smack talk and, doing, it didn't feel right. It felt a little wrong. So they recasted everyone, and they went 12 and 13-year-olds, and the rest is history. But I think that anyway, but back to Bryan Cranston. Yeah. But that's the idea. Imagine those 8 and 9-year-olds. Imagine if they were crushed about it. You go, guys, had nothing to do with you. You were brilliant. The director just saw, man, we can't make this movie. Probably they were too good. And he went, I can't have these adorable, innocent 8 and 9-year-olds saying, you eat dog crap for breakfast, geek, like, so it could be 1,000,001 different reasons. And you have to remember that. And I think that was the soul of what Bryan Cranston said, was leave it at the door, man. And when I remember that, it's nice, but it's hard when you walk in that door and you think about dollar signs and you think about, wow, what this will do for my career, or what, things like that. It's hard to set it aside and do it for yourself. I mean, I think even baseball players would be good to remember that, remember why they play the game and who they play it for. And anyone can really apply that to their life.
And see, that's what I love about you too, is that when you heard that from Bryan Cranston, you're probably in your late 30s. So
Yeah.
you've been doing this for a long time, and you're constantly learning, you're constantly applying, you're looking to evolve. So I think that says a lot about you, and one of the ways that you have been able to stay in this industry, because it can break you down.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely can. And it does that. I think that's a really great way to say it. It can break you down.
Now, at any point, did you say to yourself, hey, I don't know if this is the thing for me?
I think I say it every day. I've been saying it for 30 years. I think that's what keeps me going, though, is there is a lot to prove to myself on it. But it is a tough business, because you got to also realize, even when you're at the very top, it's tough. Then you got to stay at the top. You got to stay at the top of your game. I mean, look at these huge actors that have been doing it for a while. Look at Tom Cruise. I mean, he took a beating halfway, or in the second 2/3 of the way through his career, and he's still going, and he's still hanging on cliffs, and he's still making $250 million movies. I mean, that's probably the biggest movie star in our generation, and that's what he had to go through. Look at Will Smith. Look at what he's had to kind of go through, and then now he's got this massive social media presence, and he's a huge YouTuber, and he's really shifted his game, but he's still the amazing Will Smith. But think about how much these guys have to go through, and what it means when you're at that level and you have a flop, or that's crushing.
You put the words right into my mouth right now. You mentioned Will Smith and everything that he's doing on social media and all these different platforms. You yourself, you're crushing it. And you being self-aware enough to say, hey, I need to start a YouTube channel. Hey, I need to start a podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, I need to be more active on Instagram and social media just in general, doing the
Where
vlogs.
the world's going. Yeah. Well, and that's exactly, that really is the reason I did YouTube. I started a podcast because I wanted to do something myself. And I sort of it doesn't mean that I won't go audition, or traditional acting is not for me anymore. I still do it, but I'm not going to rely completely on the other side. Like Bryan Cranston said, the decision to not hire me or anyone there's so many reasons that I can't sit around and wait for you guys to decide that I'm right. So this gives me an opportunity to still, because I act to create things. That's why I act. I don't act for money, or I don't do these things just because. I do it because it makes me happy. And then, of course, I need to get paid for it, because I need to feed my family. So the podcast was a way to do that. But then I realized what was missing for the podcast for me was the visual aspect of it, because everyone knows my face, or a lot of people know my face. So I'm sort of shooting myself in the foot by no one knows my voice. I'm not James Earl Jones with the amazing epic voice. So I kind of went and I thought about YouTube, and I have some very close friends of mine that started a very popular YouTube channel a couple years back, and they have a YouTube production company. So I talked to them, and we kind of joined forces. But this gives me a way to do both, be on camera, and it gives me a way to just create things for myself. I was going to launch it before the pandemic struck, and the idea was to do interviews and sketches and narrative content and scripted, and then the pandemic hit, so we shifted gears and sort of just made it a vlog at my house. And then I had the idea with them to do Zooms, with the cast, and then we turned it into the reunion, which is great. And we got a bunch of MLB players, but eventually we will get through this. Then I'll hit the road and, open up the world and do some fun stuff. And it's great. I love it. And I just need to get at least half of Will Smith's followers, and then we'll be good, So Will, if you could send a few my way, I would really appreciate it. We'll collab. We'll do a little collab, babe. I like it. You and me.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, that your hosting capabilities have definitely raised a bit through the interviews that you've done.
Oh, yeah.
And the vlogs and just speaking to the camera. So you're opening up tons of doors for yourself just by doing this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love doing that hosting stuff, and I would actually be totally into doing something like that. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So you said Will Smith, and if you were to post something about you, you've been in so many different posts. We've seen you with Aaron Judge. Every single baseball player that sees you at the ballpark seems to post and show you some love.
I know, as a Bostonian, being on that Yankee stage with you, man, I got some serious calls from my family. I like how you threw at me any Yankee that was 6'6" and above. Because I got Aaron Judge, Stanton, and CC Sabathia.
All the big guys.
I mean, CC was the short guy out of all of them. What is he, 6'4"?
He's definitely not the 6'6" or the 6'8" of the other guys. That's for sure. That's almost a foot taller than you.
I joked on my podcast right after that, when I had my hand around Stanton's back, I felt his back muscles, and I was like, I've never felt anything quite like this. I mean, this is like a Greek god. This is Greek god status. Like, what's going on here? I wanted to just, rub his back, but I think it would have freaked him out. It was real intense. You got to just put your hand on the small of his back. He'll probably knock you out, but it's back muscles I didn't even know you had.
But yeah, so I mean, just what's that like for you to see all these big league players just turn into little kids? It's almost like you're a magnet for happiness.
Yeah, I mean, that's very rewarding. And then for them to know the Sandlot, and they're larger than life, and I grew up watching them, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Justin Turner, it was the same thing, meeting him at Dodger Stadium with Matt Kemp and Jock Peterson and, all sorts of guys. We met Clayton Kershaw. I mean, it was crazy.
Justin Turner was actually one of the players who was in the Sandlot cast reunion that you had put onto your YouTube channel, which everybody go over there and check it out. At the end of this interview, you'll share all your outlets and how people could find you. But
Justin and Courtney host it. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, dude. And just seeing everybody's just joy and sharing some of the stories that they had. And I love the way that you've been able to bring everybody together and just be very nostalgic. And at the same time, really celebrate those wins that you had during the filming of that to make you really appreciate that time in your life. And just by noticing the co-stars in the movie, I could see in their eyes too that they're like, wow, you know what? That happened. That was actually really cool. And it's a very feel-good thing that you're doing.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's true. It's been a bit of a trip down memory lane for me. Because before the reunion, I did one-on-one Zoom interviews with a lot of the guys. And I just, chatted with them and asked them questions about their experience. And it was great because it did bring back memories that I had totally forgotten about filming the movie, and hearing Tom Gyree, who played Smalls, and Sean C. Leopardi, who played Squints, and Grant and Brandon and the Timmons brothers and and Marty York, to hear all of the things that they remember about filming was very special.
And then how it still affects them today because they're still getting called out. Yeah, and all these other things. Totally. And I thought it was funny. One time you told me that you and Tom Gyree had been out.
Yeah.
Someone had to ask Tom to take a picture of you and that person, not realizing who they were asking to take the picture, which Tom Gyree played Smalls.
Yeah, that happens a lot. It's fun. Like we were talking before, I don't know if you were recording, but you and I can't grow a beard. So I still got the baby face. But I remember in LA, I forget what we were doing. It was the beginning of the 25th anniversary. And all 8 of us were together, and we were doing some sort of media day here. And then we all went out to dinner by the W Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard. And we just went to this little dinner spot. So all 8 of us are sitting down, and someone comes up to me and pulls me away from the table and says, "Hey, were you in the Sandlot? Will you take a photo?" And I said, "Sure." So I just took a photo as the other 7 are sitting there watching me take a photo because I was in the Sandlot. So we do the photo, and I look at the guys and I'm like, you know who I'm eating with, right? And they go, no. And they all look. And then it starts to dawn on them exactly what's going on. There's something about all of us being together that truly blows people's minds, even like exponentially more than they care about just me. And they lost their mind. And then we were taking photos, and I think we probably all took single photos and then a group photo. And then we took photos with this little group of people. They ended up being police officers or firefighters or some sort of first responder. So we spent like an hour with them, but they were like beside themselves. And that was a pretty funny memory because they had no idea in the beginning. They just saw the baby face and went, oh, ham. And then they started going, squints, Danunez. Oh, and it was just, it was over.
What does your family think of it, and how have they been able to handle it? And you now having 2 kids of your own, what have you tried to instill in the household?
Sure. My family's lived with it, so they know. They're used to it. I have 2 sons now, and my one son, my oldest, is a little over 3, and the youngest was just born. So they don't really get it yet. I'm sure. I wonder what my 3-year-old thinks when we're out together and someone wants a photo. I don't know that I think he doesn't quite comprehend it yet. I think he needs a few more years to fully understand what's happening. And then at that point, he'll probably get annoyed and be like, ugh, let's go,
I'm very happy for you and your family because growing up, not having any siblings yourself,
yeah,
you always wanted a brother or sister. Now they have that. They have that sibling bond that they can have the rest of their life. And if they grow up to be anything like you are, I'm sure that they're going to be very successful and very nice, law-abiding citizens per se. But
yeah. Well, I thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's especially in times like this. I see the families with a lot of brothers and sisters, and they all have that are my age. They all have their own kids, and so they can kind of create a family pod with all the cousins. And so even during quarantine times, they'll sort of quarantine together because they're all family. And my boys are. That's it. It's mom and dad right now. So because my wife has siblings, but their kids are all grown up. So they don't have any cousins that are around their age. So, yeah, I'm excited for them to have their own kids, and then their kids will have cousins, and they'll have each other growing up and be buds. And I'm looking forward to seeing them grow together.
it's amazing. So happy for you. Yeah, we got to get some of your Italian family out there to Los Angeles so that you guys could pod together, right?
Yeah, exactly. I need some friends. I miss people.
Just looking back at your career and what you have accomplished, as we started off the interview saying, there's just been just a long list of credits, whether it's movies, TV shows, commercials. Where do you see yourself going from here?
Oh, gosh.
Dude, I could tell, man, just by the way that you talk and the things that you're doing, whether it is evolving with media and just your wanting to always learn. And again, I hope everybody listening to this or watching this really takes note of that, because that's, in my opinion, one of the reasons why you have been so successful over this time, in addition to your character being as good as it is.
Well, thank you. Well, I don't know. Maybe, when Tom Cruise finally retires, I'll take over the Mission Impossible series. So MI8 or something. Knowing him, it's probably MI20. But where do I see my career going? I mean, I'd love to see it, this YouTube channel really take off. And it's been a really great beginning, a great start. I acted and produced in a movie a couple of years back called Bad Roomies. And I did it with the same team that I'm doing this channel with. And that's sort of how we all really bonded. But that was an amazing experience to be part of the production part of a film. And what I liked the most about it is just we had control. We had creative control. We didn't have to ask anyone. We had an executive producer that put all the money in, and he was very hands off and allowed us to do what we did. And, as far as independent films, it's been on Netflix and still on Hulu. And, it's been rolling ever since it came out. For the amount, we had almost no money. It was a very small budget. So, I like that though. I would like that to grow. And that's what I love about YouTube is you're in control of your own content. And so I would love for that to grow a lot and get into some scripted content, web series or different things. And I do have some hosting ideas like we touched on for things that I would want to host on the channel.
That will definitely happen. You will be hosting some sort of show. I don't know what it is, but that is definitely in your future. I can tell you that right now.
Well, thank you. The great thing about a YouTube channel, and this is sort of how we said during all the press, is it's kind of like a variety show. And that's what I love about it, is it is like a variety show channel. Like, we can do an interview, I can do a Zoom, I can do a web series, I could host a thing, a show, I could, so there's a million different ways that I could put something out on the channel. I can do it. I can cook with my family and make that interesting, or do a little renovation project like we did. And there's just a million things. So I'd like to do that. And I don't know. I really like these 30-minute comedies on the new platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and things like that. So I would love to. I did a couple episodes of season 2 of Glow on Netflix, and that was a great experience. And I would love to do a show like that, which is why when they were talking about the Sandlot show, I was excited about it, because it'd probably be on Disney Plus, and whatever happens with it will happen. But I'm sure it would be a 30-minute comedy. And there's just something great about, at least as an audience member, I like watching 30-minute comedies, especially with 2 kids. It's all, they end up being 27 minutes, and you can get through one a night. And if you're lucky and your kids are sleeping a little longer, you can get through 2 with the wife, So I'd want to be on a show like that and rock it on YouTube.
That is the perfect segue, because we'll end this interview, because everybody listening, I want you to be able to stay in touch with Patrick, follow him on all of his different social media platforms. So just shoot out all your different platforms.
On social media, it's at Patrick Renna. And then on the YouTube channel, it's You're Killing Me with Patrick Renna. And that's the channel name, and check it out. We got the Sandlot reunion on there, and yeah, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm on Facebook, but I don't know. You just got to look my name up. I don't know what my handle is on Facebook, or if you even have that.
Dude, amazing. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us, man. You are the best. Again, always appreciate you, the smiles and the joy that you bring to so many different people. And I hope everybody out there listening has learned a thing or two and been able to apply something that Patrick has done, that you will be able to do to your life and your career and whatever path it is that you decide to go down. So Patrick, thank you so much for joining us today, brother.
Anytime. You're the man.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching that episode of Keep Swing. Man, we have so many more awesome guests on the way, and I don't want you to miss any of it. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, feel free to go back and watch past episodes. And again, if you subscribe to the channel, that is the best way to find out who we are going to have on the show next. And if there's a guest that you want on the show, I will do all that I can to have him or her come on. So please leave a comment. Let me know who you want to see on Keep Swinging coming up. And also, too, feel free to leave a comment what you thought about the episode in the comment section below. Give it a like. And if you head over to Instagram, I'll be posting clips from all these interviews. Just a little daily inspiration. And there you can interact with me as well. Until then, have an awesome day and keep swinging.